Hi, everyone.
Hello again.
We're doing the Pure Worship book, page 25. The title is Understanding Ezekiel's Prophecies. First section is definition. What is prophecy? In the Bible, the Hebrew verb nava, rendered prophecy, refers primarily to declaring an inspired message, judgment, moral teaching, or command from God. It can also refer to making a divine declaration of something to come. Ezekiel's prophecies included all those types of divine revelations. Second subtitle, Methods of Delivery. The book of Ezekiel contains visions, illustrations, parables, and enactments of prophetic messages. Last subtitle, Fulfillments. Prophecies related by Ezekiel sometimes have more than one fulfillment. For example, the prophecies of restoration had a limited fulfillment when God's people returned to the Promised Land. But as discussed in chapter 9 of this publication, many of those restoration prophecies have a fulfillment today and will again be fulfilled in the future. In the past, we have viewed a number of elements in Ezekiel's prophecies as the basis for a type-antitype fulfillment. This publication, however, refrains from describing any person, object, place, or event as a prophetic type that has a modern antitype, unless there is a clear basis in Scripture for doing so. Rather, it will point to the greater fulfillment of many of Ezekiel's prophecies. It will also examine the lessons we can learn from Ezekiel's message, as well as from the people, places, and events mentioned by him.
Oh boy. Typical doublethink. In these 4 fairly short paragraphs, you've got a pretty good definition of prophecy. They say prophesy refers primarily to declaring an inspired message, judgment, moral teaching, or command from God. Fine. It can also refer to making a divine declaration of something to come. So those are 2 aspects of prophecy. You speak in God's name, in an inspired message, and you declare something to come, which demonstrates that you're doing it in the name of God, because who gives you the power of the vision to be able to see the future? But that's the double thing here, is that you keep saying we don't claim to be inspired. We don't claim to be a prophet in this sense, and we don't claim to know the future infallibly. So you're not inspired, you're not infallible, so what is the basis of your authority? And then you have this stuff about dismissing the types and antitypes right after it.
Yeah, which is the whole basis of how they got their authority, by calling themselves a class of and just putting a prophet's name ahead of it.
But even before they got to their modern use, when they are the modern Ezekiel class, they are the modern John class, even before they started doing that, what did they do with Russell? Well, he was the modern antitype of the man with the writer's inkhorn in Ezekiel. He was the Laodicean messenger of Revelation. These are all types and antitypes that are the basis of your authority now for 140 years.
And Rutherford did the same thing as well. The Jehu class, and we weren't part of that. Only the anointed were the Jehu class, and we were the Jonadabs, right? So our job was to support them.
So they're in a never land right now of a crisis of authority at the Watchtower. And even if you left the types where they are, because that has been the basis of your authority, the 2-class system of Rutherford that you just alluded to.
Except maybe greater authority.
And before that it was Russell on his own, before Rutherford said, no, that's not true, it's us, meaning Rutherford. Even before, when you had Russell on his own, it was types and antitypes. He was the modern Ezekiel. That's why you had to listen to him, because he was the only one in Christendom who had light on Ezekiel's prophecy and revelation. He was the one, therefore, you had to go to. Just like Jonadab had to get up in Jehu's chariot to be saved and to be spared the massacre to come. So it is with the Jonadabs today, although I don't think they use the word Jonadab
No, I don't
anymore.
think so.
So the type-antitype thing has died. But then in the biggest single problem that you've conveniently left out here, they have clung to one type-antitype for the date 1914. The idea that there's a second fulfillment of Daniel's or Nebuchadnezzar's dream that Daniel interprets, a second fulfillment related to 607 and 1914, that's your foundation belief. Without these types and antitypes, therefore, and especially the 607 date, you're done. You have no basis for your authority. So I don't even know if they're conscious of that, the way they analyze stuff nowadays.
No, I don't know.
That they're
either.
caught in this bind, this double thing.
When we first heard this idea, it was through a person who had recently left not so long ago, and he said they were dropping the types antitype. We were shocked because we thought, how can they do that? So much of their belief system is based on that.
I think,
and I don't think they really have done it. They've said it, but they're still hanging on to their authority.
I think the very first question I asked the brother that told us, who was recently out, is, so are they dropping 607 and 1914?
No.
So are they even conscious of the fact that their entire authority rests on that date?
Yeah.
The idea of a faithful slave that was somehow judged worthy of God's exclusivity for the next 4 generations?
Somebody should have a list of all their types antitypes. Let's see how many of them they've dropped.
Don't you find these pages motivational?
Yeah. And what it does too is it negates ever going to them, because their whole history has been this kind of thing. And if it's wrong, then what basis do we have to think that God was using them with Russell or Rutherford or anybody in all their publications that they put out at that time?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it negate all of it?
Well, we did make a video, and I think we're going to link one of the videos, which is they've had 6 books on Revelation, starting with the Finished Mystery, 3 volumes of Vindication in the 1930s, the Nation Shall Know That I Am Jehovah in the 70s, and now this.
Yeah.
And all of it, this is undermined, because much of the material in those 5 previous books was types and antitypes.
Yeah.
And it's all based on the assumption that we're right about the times and seasons, namely that God's doing something different since 1914 to 1918.
So the link I had written down here was Ezekiel 4 JWs, 1 Bible book, 2 personalities, 2 personality cults, Russell and Rutherford.
Good. See you soon.